That's sitting further away. No, one of it. No, it's just the live stream. Oh. After we're done. Okay. Okay. Live stream. Okay, no pressure, guys. Live stream, hundreds of people watching. Sit in front of the computer. Hey, go on. Enjoy this view. Be among them. It's okay. Because I did this. Looks like a lizard sitting.
Okay guys, welcome to the last round of the debate. This will be a silent round. My name is Akida Zulaika, I'll be your chair. So without further ado, with the motion that this house will ban all private healthcare in favor of a free public healthcare system, I invite the Prime Minister to start the case. Here.
Madam Chair, on the motion that this House will ban all private healthcare in favor of free public healthcare system, basically there's a few things that we need to define before we proceed with the motion. Firstly, we can all agree here that in terms of medical benefits, medical attention, and medical advances, it is solely, it's solely a specific, it's solely its own entity and should not be compared to materialistic stuff, probably like cars, clothes, or whatsoever. So we believe that the medical field alone should not be classified as what the rich can afford and what the poor cannot afford. Okay, so by stating that clearly, our stance here for today would be pensioners and poor people deserve the same level of medical attention as rich people, and there should be no sorts of discrimination in any sorts of manner. So basically, we're setting up the debate in Malaysia. Why Malaysia? Because Malaysia is a clear indication of that private healthcares are very expensive and public healthcares are cheap. And hence with that, private healthcares has more specialists, more of the higher level of expertise medical providers due to the higher amounts of pay. And they reject to go for public services. Hence, this results in quality in private medical institutions to be higher, while the quality in public medical institutions to be lower. So in terms of competition, public now is more sought for by the poor people who can afford only a lower price, while only the rich people can afford for a private institution which has a higher level of number of expertise compared to the public. So due to the lack of pay, as I said earlier, second level medical practitioners, not to discriminate them or not to insult them, but what we are saying here is probably they aren't as possess a significant amount of skill as the ones that they're hiring in private institutions. So probably they have less incentive and less motivation compared to the private medical institutions to provide an equal level of medical attention in the status quo. This is something we cannot deny. This is something we cannot just change abruptly. Like just say, oh, they should just increase. They should just make their management just highly more effective and whatsoever. We believe that humans do things for incentive. Even in order to do good, even doctors require the pay. They do a better job and they have a higher pay. So with that, today I'll talk about two things. One, a brief introduction of our model. Two, principally justify why we should ban. And three, I'm going to tell you the benefits of making only having free public healthcare. First, my model. The model is clearly stated in the definition. In the motion itself. Our model here today in Malaysia, we would basically ban all private healthcare in favor of free public healthcare. But this does not mean that we will just close down the private healthcare and tell them, okay, you have to stop whatever you are doing for all these years or whatsoever. No, we're not telling that. We are telling that they probably need to convert from a private healthcare, the status of private healthcare, to a public healthcare, one. Second, they probably have to engage more with the public healthcare, probably form a sort of coalition or a more united healthcare service in terms where all are equal and all have the same amount of level of expertise, all have the equal amount of expertise. So no one is higher or lower in that sense. That is our model. So before I pursue my next argument, yes.
Okay, if you want to change private to public, then who is going to pay for the extraordinary high salary of the high salary of the doctors in the private?
That's the reason why we're doing this. We're doing this so everyone has an equal level of salary. So one sit down. One cannot complain, oh, he's getting a higher one or we're getting a lower one. One cannot complain merely on whether a person has a first-class degree in medical field, another person has a second-class degree. So the second class should just get a lower pay. So we're saying we're leveling the whole playing field. So everyone gets equal pay. So there is no problem with no problem with the lack of sufficient funds. Next, sit down. Going on with my principal justification of ban. Why we are saying that we should ban all private healthcare? Because we believe that private healthcares are overcharging because they know that people prefer theirs over public. So basically, only the rich can afford, but the poor can't. So the poor gets probably not a proper high level of expertise. This is why in certain cases we hear that in general hospitals in Malaysia, some of the operations they leave the wire gauze in the person's hand after operating, or leaving the scalpel in the chest after they operating. Why? One, because they have no motivation. They do their work merely just to do work. They don't anymore uphold the class or the image of public hospitals, as they know the public hospitals already has a degraded image in the society. So basically, that's why we're saying that people definitely rich people can afford and poor people have no choice to go here. And the medical practitioners, they don't actually improve themselves because they know that they have no higher incentive other than their basic pay. So, and then in terms of the fresh graduates, in terms of specialists, they tend to target private work because they have a better pay. So they tend to neglect whatever is present in the public. They tend to work there. Yes, probably maybe they work for a certain number of years in public to serve their requirements and stuff like that. But once they have already attained a certain level of experience, a more higher specialized skills, they then move to the private sector where the private benefits more. So is this fair where the public healthcare sets up the foundation for them to grow, and then they just move to the specialist, and then public then drops? So as such, the reason why we're banning is because poor people now only go to public. They don't get the equal medical attention compared to the rich. We believe medical attention is a universal thing. Regardless of poor or rich, all should get equal medical attention. It's not as in terms of materialistic things like others. So next, I'll move on to my next argument is, why is it good that once we have banned all private healthcare, we are now making all free. Everyone now can afford the same level of high expertise. No one is getting an unfair leverage here, and now it's advantage to both rich and poor as it is free, and there's no problem of lack of funds to supply all this, as the institutions are already there, and we are giving all equal pay. So as from opening government, we are proud to propose.
Can you guys ring the bell from here? Okay, here. I thank the Prime Minister for the speech, and now to continue the debate, I call upon the leader of opposition to further the debate. Here. Here.
So basically, the government came up here and they told us that private healthcare is more attractive to both doctors and to the society as well, and that poor people and pensioners must have the right to healthcare. But they failed to prove to us how these propose tangible harms to the public healthcare. So before I go on to my substantives, I have a few rebuttals to side government. First one, when they talk about pensioners and poor people having the rights to healthcare, right? Isn't that already in the status quo, where these pensioners and people do have the right to healthcare in public hospitals, but they're not free? So instead of banning private hospitals, why don't you just give these people who really need it free healthcare, rather than giving like the whole society, those who need it and those who are bound to abuse it, free healthcare? Second rebuttal being that they propose for an equal level of salary for both private doctors and also public doctors. So how exactly will the government be able to pay both private and public doctors when the private doctors come in the public sector? Because in the private sector, the doctors are paid by the patients who come in, and the pay, and we consider the fact that the pay is really high. Therefore, these doctors are more motivated to work in that sector. But instead of banning the private sector, we propose for like the private doctors to come to the public sector based on a policy made by the government, and also like after how they practice. They do their practical in public hospitals for a few years. We would like to make a policy like that for the government. And also doctors, they talk about how doctors are not motivated in like the public sector, and we think with the whole society only being able to go to the public doctors will be even more unmotivated, not because of their pay, because they are more stressed, and they are not able to give quality healthcare, which does not exist in the first place. No, sorry. All right, moving on to my substantives. The first one being the efficiency of healthcare in the system. So the current status quo, general hospitals are always full with patients, right? You go in there, you see people sitting around and waiting for their turn. And what's even worse is that the treatment that they get after spending hours waiting is barely reaching the minimum standard. Like for example, customer service is really bad. It takes too long to get a simple medical checkup, and there are too many procedures to the government system right now. So under their paradigm, the situations are going to worsen even are going to be even worse. Why? Because even more people are going to be at the hospitals. The doctors are not able to cater to this patients, and wait, the quality of treatment will be just as bad or probably even worse. Before that, yes, closing.
Ma'am, when a doctor becomes a doctor in the first place, he knows that he has to put up to a certain extent where he has to treat patients. Why would a doctor eventually gain stress by treating a patient?
Because you are forcing like this private doctors who wanted, like, before they started doing medic, they obviously have a goal of being in public, right? So if they are forced to be in public, they don't know like the stress they're getting into. In private hospitals, you get to choose what you want, and like, yeah, no, opening.
I mean, medical practitioners are already trained psychologically and intellectually to adapt as what may change in their medical practices. So why can't they adapt to the changes that may occur if they were to revert to a public more generalized scene?
Because it's their right to choose right where they want to work. So you can't be forcing this. No, you can't be forcing these people to work in places they don't want to. All right, no. So under their paradigm, like I said just now, the situations are going to worsen. So instead of again banning these private hospitals, you should put the funds you're gonna use in if this motion were to pass, you should use these funds to improve the public healthcare, to give, like he said just now, that they don't have enough salary. You should give more salary to the doctors who already exist in the public healthcare. They are not, I don't think like they get a medic degree by being stupid, right? So we think they are just as private doctors are. So therefore we can give like the funds allocated to this public doctors. Also, we can see that there are no expertise in public healthcare, as in like there are no specialists. No, there are not no specialists. There are like more often than not, there are no specialists in general hospitals. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a policy to have like to make specialist sectors in the general hospital. Before that, yes.
Ma'am, you can't be going up and saying that these doctors have a certain view to get into something. This is one, because there's going to be no more private sectors. Then they're going to know eventually that there's no way they can get into a private sector which doesn't exist. So they're going to be fine with going to the government.
Okay, so if that were to happen, right? What if people who want to be doctors, like medic students, minimize? What if people don't want to be doctors because they don't want to work for the government in the first place? So what's going to happen then? People are going to go out of the country, right? All right. Second point being unnecessary funding. Like I said just now, the funds used to accommodate everyone under their paradigm can be used to improve the public healthcare. And and what about the rich people in the society who have no choice but to go for public healthcare, right? They aren't able to access the private healthcare that they want to, and that this is basically there is no equality in this as well. Like he's been talking for poor people and pensioners, because you're forcing these rich people who are eligible for private healthcare to go to public healthcare. And my third point will be funding. Again, where are this public healthcare going to be able to get the money to pay this to pay the doctors that they say they're going to pay extra and everything? Because the private healthcare works perfectly, I think, because their clients and their patients are able to pay for the healthcare that they want to, therefore minimizing the people who will go to the public hospitals. Therefore, I proudly oppose.
Here. I thank the leader of opposition for the speech, and now I call upon the Deputy Prime Minister to forward the debate. Here.
Madam Chair, under the motion that this House believes that all private sectors should be banned and introduce a free healthcare. To start on with my rebuttals, what came from side opposition, they believe that as they have mentioned in their speech, that you get to choose what you want, and that they talked about efficiency. They talked about efficiency, that the quality of healthcare, it's not up to standard in the public health sectors. But we believe that under their model, this situation will continue to worsen, and it might not be solved if this private sector still exists within our society. What we stand for on side government, we want everybody to have an equal opportunity to get the same kind of treatment, and not to have this assumption that other people, just because of their property, they have more money to choose where they want to be, and this will often create division within the society. As my Prime Minister has stated that what about the pensioners that can't afford to go to these private health sectors? He mentioned to you that it's better for all private health sectors to be converted to public health sectors, so that everybody can have an equal opportunity, to be treated equally, because we, as you classify this public health sector and a private health sector, and the rich that can afford to go wherever, and the poor, I mean, the society will actually create divisions, and this is actually not good for us. So what I'm going to, before I move on to my arguments, POI.
Yes. So you're saying that the rich people can't opt to go for public healthcare?
Because they are rich. So that's why this division, that's why if we have this division, rich people will actually opt to go to this private health sectors than to public health sector, because they have this assumption that they cannot get the quality medical attention on public health sectors.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to mention to you today is that the reason why we want to ban these health sectors, and we want to introduce a free public health sector for everyone, we believe that it will, for as long as we have these private sectors within our society, they're gonna be a division, and we believe that also that public health sectors are actually too expensive for some people to afford. So that's why we want to implement these free health sectors. So moving on. We believe that the introduction of the free health sector, one can still obtain the quality healthcare which they believe they can get from these public health sectors. By this, people might think that public health sectors don't actually have, you can't actually get proper treatment from there. You don't get proper medication. But we cite government by introducing this policy. We will make sure that these health sectors, they're actually monitored. How are they going to be monitored? There are CCTV cameras. They can be set up to see if these health sectors are actually, sectors are actually performing their job to their best abilities. Also, moving on. We want to say that the reason why public health sectors should be banned is that we believe that they are actually too expensive. Too expensive, we mean that we believe that these health sectors are just here for profit making and not seeing the needs of patients. We believe that it's only for those that have money that can afford. To my experience, I did went to a private health sector where I need first to deposit a certain amount of money before I can get my treatment. So we believe that why do you want so you want these people to, so you want these health sectors to live in your society. If only certain people, certain group of people can actually afford these health facilities, so it's better to make everything public, so that everybody can have an equal opportunity to afford the best medical care that they need, not to sit back and being told that they cannot, because as they don't have this certain amount of money, they cannot get treated here. So we believe that it's currently unfair for people to be denied healthcare services. Yes.
What is so wrong about rich people going to private healthcare?
As we have mentioned to you, that it creates a division within the society. Thank you. So, what we have presented to you from side government, we strongly propose this motion, as we think that is in the best interest of everybody, that no person will be left out. We strongly believe that health sectors should be banned, as they don't actually meet the health needs of everybody, and that they cut certain societies out of this, and that are actually too expensive, and they're just here for money making, as only those that can afford will be treated. So in making it public, everybody can have the best medical care, and we do believe that the best medical care, the best quality medication can also exist within public health sectors. We believe that it causes a division within the society if these private health sectors still exist. So we don't believe that they are here for everybody's needs and just for their needs. Thank you.
I thank the Deputy Prime Minister for the speech. Now I call for the Deputy Leader of Opposition to forward his case. Here.
Okay, let look. Okay, wait. Start back, please. Sorry. Okay, let's look at the reality right now. How is the condition of public and private healthcare? Okay, most importantly, they are fighting for public healthcare. What in public healthcare, the doctors are not motivated, and then the doctors are not motivated, and there are some specialist doctors who went from one country to another state, because there are not a lot of specialists inside these hospitals, and then they are suddenly trying to change the private healthcare into public healthcare, and they are hoping that all these specialist doctors are going to sit there and just, okay, I'm going to be a public doctor now. They didn't look at the reality that, okay, before this I get 10,000. Let's say I get 10,000. Now suddenly I'm going to become a public doctor. So why suddenly my salary have to go down? Like, seriously? No. How about, going to my rebuttals, I have a few rebuttals. Firstly is that they concede the fact that private are better than public, but then suddenly they are saying that it changed when you change the private to public, then suddenly everything is going to be fine. Public is not going to have a problem anymore. It's just, but they don't have clear evidence on how that's going to happen. And the fact that changing a private to a public, private is not under government, public is under government. So when you change it, the government suddenly have to take care of all this burden of paying the doctors, paying the electric bills and whatsoever. not the companies, not their own sector of this private healthcare.
On that.
Okay, first. Okay, then now going to my rebuttal. Before that, yes.
We already told you that once we convert them, they'll be universalized into a standard correlation under the government. So why can't they still pay for their for their doctors?
I'm going to answer that inside my points. Okay, I got 2 points, which is one is that the freedom of choice, and second is brain drain. And the first inside freedom of choice, if that is a choice of private and public, okay, public is free, everyone can choose it, okay, set that side. Private, if people is in, let's say, influential people like leaders, CEOs, all those people, they want a better healthcare. Okay, this public, they concede to the fact that public is worse than private, and then public is better, public is worse than private. Sorry. So they concede to that fact, and then suddenly they want to let go of the private and they want public, and expect these people, these influential people that want the best for themselves to stay there. If that's not going to happen, these people want the best for themselves and their families. So why you suddenly want to change it?
Sir.
And then going to my next point. Wait.
Sir, before that.
Okay, going to my next point is about brain drain. Okay, we have first is about just now about the influential and CEOs, and now it's about the doctors. Okay, about the doctors goes into a private healthcare for a reason. They want better salaries. You can't expect a PhD to get only of salary. Okay, so obviously they want to go inside a better place, a choice where they can make, which is in the federal constitution, which is the freedom of choice. They want to change. Why suddenly you want to restrict their choice? And then salary. Okay, salary inside public healthcare is not enough. If we have the specialty and we know that thing going to provide us better salary or whatsoever, then why can't we choose it? Why must we be bonded by this public healthcare which is not that
On the
advantages? Okay, go on. The girl.
Okay, we're talking about freedom of choice, but then these people you're considering leaders and CEOs, those are actually the minorities for the society. We want what's good for the whole society.
Yeah.
How does changing everything into public is going to help all of it? They get the public, they get the healthcare that they want. It's free. They get the public healthcare and it's available for all. It's just that you have to change the. If you want the doctors to be motivated, why change the private healthcare? Why don't you change the salary of the doctors? Why don't you raise it up?
Yeah.
Then going to another reality is that not all doctors want to become a doctor. Some of them, most of them, at first they want to become doctor. Then they know the stress of becoming a doctor. It is true. It's a fact. If you can ask a medical student. They spend hours of studying the book. It's almost 6. No. They spend hours of studying the book. It's like very thick, and then they have, and being a doctor is not just memorizing one thing. It's like you have to be also good in your practical skills, and some of them doesn't know that. Some of them just, I like bio, I want to become a doctor. So that fact that not all of them want to become doctor, but they have to, because I have a degree in medic. Then now I have to become a doctor because I am bonded by this thing. So that is also one of the factors that the doctors are not motivated, not just private healthcare. Okay. At last, I'm going to clarify that. My leader of opposition said about efficiency of healthcare, which is clearly that private are better than public. With that, I hope that I'll get the best healthcare for my children.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thank the deputy leader of opposition, and now I call upon the member of government to carry forward the debate.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, what we care about is society. Whatever that's good for society, if it's good for society, we're going to stick with it. We're going to go with it, right? Because we know society demands better for itself, and we're going to do better for society, right? But actually, this is what I'll be doing in my speech today. I'll give you a couple of rebuttals, which are towards the opposing side, and I'll give you two substantives will be on how would this give you a few substantives would be how would this be a burden towards society, how would this ease the burden towards society, and why would this be in favor towards those in poverty, and also why would this take out the monopolization of the private sector, and and why would this take out the monopolization of the private sector towards the country, right? But before that, my rebuttals, right? Firstly, this was brought up by opening government. They came and told you that there'll be more stress towards these doctors, because now since there's going to be no more private sectors, all of them are going to be under government, and there's going to be more people, right? But I'm telling you this, later on, when the doctor became the doctor itself, he knew that he has to treat a few people. He was prepared for this. Why on earth would he eventually get the amount of stress due to sudden reactions just because there's more people coming towards him to get treated, right? But I tell you that's not true in the first place, because because eventually we're not just going to leave those private clinics just like that. We're going to nationalize them. Those private clinics are going to become government clinics, and eventually all the clinics provided, the medics provided towards these people who come to our clinics is going to be the same. They came out with the big wrong assumption. They told us that doctors who work for the government treat people badly. They told you that the service provided by the government is bad, right? But we tell you this, it is the service provided by the government is good. The service provided by the government is good. The medics also are good. But I'm just telling you this, it's good, but the one in private are better. But now since we are going to combine them together, the private sector the entire public sector would look like a entire new entire new public sector. So it'd be a combination of both, where it will look like a new sector which you've never seen before with top class medications, right? And before I move on to my second rebuttal, yes.
What makes you think that the standards of a private sector's doctor would not fall to a public sector's doctor? The standards.
Ma'am, look at this, right? You're going to be a doctor. We're not going to pay you based on, if you're a public doctor, you get lower wage payment, and and you're a private doctor, you get higher wage payment. It depends on how much scale you work for, right? It depends on the hours you work for. It depends on the quality you work for. The doctor gets his payment not because he's a private doctor, gets higher, not because he's a public doctor, he gets higher. The skills matter, ladies and gentlemen. No. Okay, now moving on to my second point, which they came up and told you it'll be a brain drain, right? Which was it blew my mind. Why on earth would there be a brain drain? They said people are going to migrate to other countries just because they want to go there. The motion clearly states that all private healthcare is going to be converted into free public healthcare, right? That means not only in a certain country, in the entire world, which they did not understand from the get-go itself. They intended to understand that only a certain country, only one country, Malaysia, is going to make it Only Malaysia is going to convert the private sectors into these public healthcare centers, right? But what they fail to understand, this debate is not only in Malaysia, it's for the entire world, right? Yes.
First of all, your government set up is in Malaysia. Second of all, is that how do you ensure that these people won't go out from the country?
So obviously you weren't listening. They came up and gave you an example of Malaysia. They did not set the debate within Malaysia, because that'll be contradiction. That'll be a contradiction towards the motion itself, right? So putting that aside with your clear misunderstanding, right? Now, how would this actually ease the burden? How would this actually ease the burden of society, right? There's going to be no more trouble for society, because we consider the fact that some people can't afford to get these kind of medications. And we tell you this, not only poor people, right? These kind of medications are unaffordable, sometimes due to big surgery operations. These kind of things are really expensive, and we can't just give out, we can't just allow other people to come in and like stop us by putting a certain limit of money. That's why we're making it free, right? So whereas it'll be easy for the entire society to go to that certain public-private kind of clinic to get their medication and their treatment, right? Which will be very beneficial for them. But also, why would it be in favor for poverty itself, right? Because the poverty is in dire financial need, where they need that certain amount of money. Which, could you imagine, you're looking at someone, he needs to go through operation to continue living, but just because the operation costs so much, not only in private but also in government, and you're not providing it free, look at what happens to that person. He dies because he cannot afford. Yeah, imagine if that person was one of your family members and you could not have that enough money to help him go to the hospital, and he dies just like that because of your fault, right? But now, moving on to why, just hold on. Moving on to why, in the favor of poverty, this will cure their debts, right? Because eventually, you're not going to just let someone die like that. You're going to eventually get debts or loans from other people, so you can go and get that person of your family treatment, right? And this will eventually gain, yes.
Okay, so you won't even get a treatment if in the public there is no specialist. Sometimes you have to make appointment, which is going to take weeks.
So I understand. You're saying that there'll be no expertise in public. That's why we're combining these together. The people from the private sector would migrate to the public sector, where it makes it one. Let's say for Sime Darby Medics or Glen Eagle. These are one of the top 2 medic centers in Malaysia itself. These two, the doctors from here aren't just going to stop working. Eventually, we're going to hire them in public sectors and stuff, right? Because the entire of this is in public. But last but not least, I'll be telling you this, how would this take away the monopolization of private healthcare, right? Okay, we're going to give a certain incentive for these people to work, right? The working wage is not going to be like a normal doctor. Even a normal doctor now has a chance to show them that they can work as good as a specialist, right? Because we're going to put a higher incentive. When there is an incentive, people work to get that incentive, because they know if they earn that incentive, better for that incentive, which actually makes a good example for the doctor itself, and makes a good example towards the country, whereas the country can live a better life with more professional doctors, right? But I'm telling you this, right? All the doctors are now going to be balanced, and all of them are going to be given higher pay wages, except for the skilled workers, right? We're going to give the skilled workers, if we feel that they have enough quality, we're going to provide them with that entire thing. So it's actually a very balanced scale process. And in a conclusion, right, what have I told you? Now we stick to our model. Eventually, the government is going to be even better, and we want to help this developing country become a developed country. We are fighting for the best need of society itself. With that, I'm proud to propose.
Member of government for the speech. Now I call upon the member of opposition side for the case. Here.
Madam Chair, we on side CO are going to differentiate ourselves from OO by focusing on why should we not ban all this private healthcare. We are not focusing on on which country we are on, right? Today I have one extension, that is the treatment at healthcare center. How they cater back to the patients. Before I move on to my extensions, a few rebuttals, right? The Deputy Prime Minister is totally rehashing what the Prime Minister said. So they are saying the same things on equality, right? So I am going to rebut them in once, right? Okay. Side government said that the poor ones and the rich ones should get equal treatment, right? We think that we should give them the right to choose whether they want to go to private one or the public one, right? It seems like it is fair for the poor ones and the rich ones, but it is unfair towards the rich ones because they deserve the right to choose which one should they go to, right? They may like to go to the private healthcare in order to get the better treatment, right? Sit down. Secondly, they said that the people sit down. They said that the government can make sure that the public healthcare are performing well, right? But there's a problem, right? How can they do well if there is no good tools? There's no best tools for them, no best machines, no best medicines in public healthcare, right? How do they get money from? That's the question, right? Sit down. And it says that right now they have no problems with the lack of sufficient funds because the institutions are already there, right? Yeah, even if there is already, what if they have to buy all those best tools, advanced machines and all in order to give the best treatment to the people? Where are they getting the money from? The same questions they did not justify to it, right? The closing, they said that if sit down, if they combine the public healthcare and the private healthcare together, it will be even better for them, right? I think that the problem will be the same because if we combine together, right, the government still do not have the money for them to buy all those best tools and give the best treatments towards all the people, right? And they say that the people are easy to get treatment because all the treatment there is free, right? Same questions. How can they get this large amount of money? No justification from them. So I think, yeah, their point's false, right? Now, let's move on to my extensions. The treatment at healthcare center, how they cater back to the patients, right? First thing, how does it work in private healthcare, right? They pay, okay, the people, they pay money in order to get the treatment in private healthcare, right? They sit down. After my extension, right? Sit down. They said because the private healthcare have advanced technology, best medicines, and they have best tools for them to like make a best treatment for the people, right? Even if we have to pay money, it is okay for us because as you need to compare between health and money, right? If you use more money, you can get best treatment. You do not have to waste your time and it fasten your time of recovery, right? If you do not want to spend money at all, maybe your problem of health will be worsened during the time of waiting for your turn to get treatment, right? Now, one clarification for you. Nowadays, you see, the people are complaining that they have to wait for a long time in order to get treatment in public healthcare, right? Nowadays, people rather prefer to go to the private healthcare to prevent the wasting of time. What if we need to think of what if the private healthcare are all banned? Would the problem be solved? The answer is no, because there would just be a lot of public healthcare which face the same problems, right? I think that it does not occur, right? Opening.
One of the many arguments which side opposition did not engage. What about poor people who deserve the equal quality of what they cannot afford in the highly specialized private hospitals?
You think that the poor ones need equality, right? But what if the rich one also need equality? They deserve to choose. I don't think that it is relevant, right? Sit down. And second scenario, the free public healthcare system, right?
On that,
And we told you that it is free, so that we think that the doctor do not feel like doing his best to treat all the people, all the patients, because the salary is so low, right? Even if they have the passion on it, and they say that, oh, I will try my best to save all the patients, right? We think that even if there is the passion there, but we think that they do not have the best machines, the best tools in order to give the best treatment for the citizens, right? And we think that where are they getting this much of money to build all this public healthcare all around Malaysia, and they should use the money from the cities by using it towards education, which is very important to our future generations, younger generations, and development and technologies, right? We in Malaysia, we need to have advanced technologies in order to progress our country, right? And we think that if the poor and if the poor ones can't afford all this private healthcare, right? They can choose. They are able to choose whether they want to go to public or they want to go to the private, right? I think that if we ban it, we will definitely depend on the free public healthcare, and somehow they can't afford to do all those advanced because they have lack of money, right? If we do not ban it, there are still have alternatives to go to, whether you want to go to public one or private one, right? With that, I'm proudly proposed. Thank you.
I thank the member of opposition for a speech. Now I call upon the government to conclude the government's case. Here.
Mr. Speaker, let's go on to the real debate, Mr. Speaker, because what came out from side opposition was completely ridiculous. But let me first clarify a few doubts of this debate. We tell you that the fundings for this kind of public clinics and healthcare would practically come from the body which has institution which has been made to actually look after all these kind of issues. We don't think that's naturally a problem, right? So let me tell you how my speech will go today. Go through a few clash points, and then I'll go on the harms and benefits on both sides, and finally I'll go on a brief summary of what we from side closing government have come and talk to you today about. But first, on the clash point, the main clash point was mainly about how merging and also the condition of this kind of healthcare would be a problem. Because what we came and told you was that when we actually ban this kind of private healthcare, then the expertise would naturally actually go to these government hospitals. But what they came and told you was that when this kind of expertise, this specialist which actually comes to your public health care would lack the motivation to actually work. But we, Speaker, each time when in a public healthcare, we told you that the treatment is no match for the private healthcare. But we tell you when a normal doctor originally from the public healthcare is joined in with the expertise from the private healthcare, the competition, it would be an incentive for both of them to strive harder and actually succeed. So we tell you that with this, the quality of the service, the quality that these doctors actually give out to their own patients would dramatically increase, thus increasing the standards of a public hospital itself. Before I go to my next clash point, anyone?
So what makes you think the public hospitals are ready to up their standards to the standards of the private hospitals? Wouldn't they get culture shock? How do they cater as of their machinery and
Thank
stuff like
you. We tell you that when these two sectors, the private and the public, practically merge, we tell you that there's no such form of culture shock, because the whole government would actually be superseding this whole this whole public healthcare, and at the end of the day, this expertise from the private healthcare would actually spur this kind of public healthcare into better service and standards. No, thank you. I've taken one. And yeah, going on the issue of importance, because what side government has come and talked to you all about was about the equality, how it was important that everyone deserved the right to actually a quality and a good standard healthcare. But what they came and talked to you about, that we should not ban, because the private healthcare would offer a better service. It's their right to choose. But we tell you this, there is that certain percentage of people who would not afford to actually go to those private healthcare and get that form of treatment. So we tell you that by merging these two sectors, practically merging, the expertise which come here will be actually giving this sort of quality treatment to everyone, no matter whether they are poor or they are rich, or so on and so forth. No, thank you. And yeah, going on my next clash point on the issue of funding. What they didn't understand, they came on and on about where the funds would come from, how would we be able to pay the expertise in the first place. But from the get-go, side government has been telling them on and on, but they seem to not take it into their head or something. Okay. Basically, the funds would come from three sorts of analysis on where the funds would come from. No, thank you. Still explaining. Three sorts of analysis. The first one being how there'll be a body which will supersede the distribution of money and stuff. And furthermore, there still would be a budget allocated by the government itself to this healthcare sector, because we know in status quo there is the budget which the government sets in different sectors. And yeah, finally we always have the World Bank which would always support one sector, which is healthcare and so on and so forth. And yeah, also side opposition came and talked to you about how the money could be used for education and stuff like that, which was completely ridiculous, considering that education in Malaysia is actually free up till high school. Yeah. And furthermore, they also came and on. They came and started talking about equipment, how we are not equipped to actually give that form of service. But we tell you this, when that form of merging happened, when that form of when you tend to give out good qualities, that is when the government would actually equip these kind of hospitals with the proper equipments and so that they can serve the people better. Let's go on with some harms and benefits on both sides. Let's go on with the benefits on side government. What we have told you is that we improve the standard of healthcare to all the people, regardless of whether they are poor or they are rich. We also told you that we take out the monopolization of the private sector in healthcare, and also we have told you how we actually fight for equality, where we give treatment to everyone, no doubt whether they are poor or they are rich. Whereas on their side, all they came and talked to you about was how the rich could get better treatment and how private sectors was successful. We tell you that our benefits has practically outweighed theirs. But going on the harms, right? The harms on our side, which they came and talked to you about, was the psychological stress. But on and on again, we have already taken that down on how the doctors should be pre-equipped and stuff. But their side is how the scale of doctors' pay weight and stuff. So we tell you that the harms on their side outweigh our side. So basically what we have told you in this debate today is how we will ease the burden on the poor people, and also we will take out the monopolization of the private sector. And finally, we have told you how we are in favor of giving equal treatment, equal healthcare treatment for the people and the country itself. We beg to propose.
Yeah.
I thank the speaker, the government side, and now to conclude the debate, I invite the speaker on the opposition side. Thank you.
Madam Chair, this is how I'm gonna do today's debate as a whip. Firstly, I'm gonna rebut slightly on what closing government did, and secondly, I will propose my issue. But under my issue, I also insert some of the rebuttals coming from closing government and also opening government. Firstly, one of the slight rebuttals I have for closing government. You see, this member of government came up and tell us, what if the poor people cannot go to this private sector to get the really good treatment they can get? And then he gave us an example on how if our family members dying and then we have to see them die because they can't give a good treatment. But when we tell you, these poor people, they're not necessarily that poor, you know, because if they're really that poor, they can go for a social welfare help. Order, sit down. They can always go for a social welfare help. But then, because they're not that necessarily poor until they can't even afford their basic rights, they can always sign up for a lower price insurance package, and this insurance they can cover on sending them to a private sector. That's what insurance are for in the first place. Secondly, the government whip came up with the starting line on how opposition keeps on finding on where they can find this funding for all the clinics, and then he came up with a solution on how the funding comes from institutions that looks out on them. But you have to realize, following a whole nation, there's many public clinics. For example, Malaysia, we have Clinic Satu Malaysia. It's situated around the whole nation, and there's so many public clinics in the whole nation. How can they prove to us that this body they can actually provide the best of the equipment, the best of these public clinics? We don't see any real solution coming from closing government. Sit down. Okay. Moving on to my issues, which I'm going to insert my rebuttal into. My first issue is, why don't we want to ban it? Why do we still want to keep these private clinics in the medical field? Firstly, as what my member of opposition talked to you about the treatment at the clinic, let's see about the private sector. So you see, these patients, they'll go to this private sector and pay money instead of these public clinics where they pay for free. So the private is obviously expensive, but we believe they will not overcharge, because in order to have a good name, they cannot overcharge. Because if they overcharge the consumer, they can obviously report to the consumer rights. Right? That's why we do not believe whatever you talked about and how that the private clinic will actually overcharge will work. Sit down. Okay, you see, when they pay higher price, the money will obviously be not wasted. The money will be used on four things. Firstly, salary of doctor. That's where this doctor get their salary. Second, utilities bill. Who will actually pay for this electricity and the water use? You see, under their side, there's so many public clinics that did not justify to us how they can actually pay for these utility bills. When we tell the fund they get from this one or two bodies, that's not actually sufficient, right? So they will spend on the medicine because they get enough money. They get all these pays from these rich people. They can buy a better medicine to cure, right? Instead of a medicine for bare minimum value. Fourthly, equipment. Do you believe that if you have really bad equipment in the clinic, would they actually cure properly? You see, at least in private sector, we have good equipment, good X-ray machine, good tools during surgeries. Opening.
How is it not overcharging when private hospitals like Simon Darby charges within a range of 50 ringgit to 100 ringgit just for registration of your name?
Yeah.
Because you see, when you register your name, that means you're going to go back for many other treatments when you fall sick. So that's why we need a registration so that we know that you're going to be a patient of this clinic. But if you do not register at all, that means there's like no firm thing. You see, even when you go to school, you have a registration fee. Even when you go to tuition, you have a registration fee. These are educational items, and they also have to pay registration fees. Why can't medical also have these registration fees? Okay, continuing. You see, If these doctors they treat the patient well, the patient will obviously come again if they fall sick. And when these patients when they fall sick, they will come again. And then more money will flow into the doctors in private healthcare. And then you see when they'll treat better, they'll obviously come back. For example, in a restaurant, when the waitress treat you properly, you obviously go back to the restaurant. So when you go back again when you're sick, more money actually flows in. And then this will actually act as incentive for them to give a better treatment. Why? Because more money flows in because the patients come in, you will get an extra annual bonus at the end of the year. And this is the really good incentive you see. And let's compare doctors in the free public healthcare system. It's free of charge, FOC. Where's the incentive in that? You see, let me tell you before I continue this. Who usually goes to private healthcare? Rich businessmen, influential people make influential decisions. They obviously need a better treatment to cure faster. And then when they cure faster, they can return back to their ordinary life and handle all the business. Both of you sit down. You see? So if they get a bare minimum treatment when they go to this public clinic, okay, what they try to say, but they merge all these two clinics and then the specialist doctor and the public doctor will join together. But then what if these businessmen, they were unlucky, they go to a public sector doctor, they will obviously get the bare minimum treatment from them, right, you see? And the medicine will probably be of average quality, which is the best quality that these public clinics can afford. Because why? There's not enough money. There's so many public clinics following the nation, right? And then when you go to these public clinics, your medicine will just be of average quality or the worst, the bare minimum quality, right? Continuing to this, both of you sit down. I already took one, I won't take another one. Okay. You see, because there's so many public clinics across the nation, so the government obviously has to give them salary. And then when more public clinics are built, then more of the doctors come in and then their salary will be decreased because they have to give a fair amount of salary to them. They have to distribute it equally. Right? And then where's the incentive in that when the salary will be low if they join into that? Okay, you see, sit down. You see, on OG, the Prime Minister said that under this argument of why should we ban this private healthcare, the public doctor has no motivation to improve themselves. You see, this private healthcare, they provide a high salary. Can you both sit down? They provide a high salary. And then these public doctors, they have more incentive to improve themselves under CO paradigm. Why? Because they will work hard. These public doctors, they will know that they will get a higher salary. So they will work hard to improve themselves, i.e. further their knowledge so that they can improve and eventually step up the private sector. Because but let's say, if the worst case scenario, they are not good enough and maybe sometimes they may be good enough, but what if they are not accepted to this private sector or not deserving enough to go into this private sector, okay? You see, but they can still return to the public sector and use their knowledge and skills in this sector, and it's technically a win-win under opposition paradigm, and the poor can also receive a good treatment also. Equality also exists on the outside, which was technically the whole bench of government tried to find that we do not give equality to them. But okay, let's see again under government paradigm. You ban these private sectors, right? And then these doctors on private sectors, they work years in the private sectors. For some of them, they will feel demotivated after that. Because why? When they go down to the public sector, they will know that their salary will be decreased one day, and then they will serve their bare minimum. Why? Because they feel like I deserve a higher pay than them. I study longer than them. I get a better diploma. I get a better degree than them. That's why they will feel demotivated. Okay, let's say that Deputy Prime Minister came out and said, no, we can use the CCTV to observe them to make sure they serve their best. But two analyses to that. Firstly, there's so many clinics in the world, and then in a clinic there must be at least a minimum of 3 doctors with a minimum of 3 rooms. So it's safe to say that one clinic has 3 CCTVs, and then across the nation there's so many public clinics, so many CCTVs. The cost for this is an amazing lot, right? And do you think we can actually take an expense to spend so much money just for this? Right, you see, that's why I find illogical. And when so many CCTVs needed in the clinics, we can't possibly spend that much to buy high quality CCTVs. And then when you only can afford a bare minimum worthy CCTV, on average CCTV, they'll be easily spot. And when that's why, how do you ensure that this doctor will serve their best? You cannot monitor them. So for all these reasons, our argument stands and go with side closing opposition. Thank you.
Yeah.